There are moments in life when a single choice reveals everything about who we truly are. For billionaire businessman Harold Whitmore, that moment came on a quiet autumn morning, when he put on a torn jacket, stepped into the shoes of a poor gatekeeper, and walked straight into the heart of a truth he wasn't sure he wanted to hear. He had only one mission, to discover whether his son's fiancée loved his boy, or loved his money. But nothing could have prepared him for the kindness that would soon bring tears to his eyes. Before we begin, make sure you hit that subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and share your thoughts in the comments. You're watching True Story Tales, where every story reminds us of the goodness still left in this world. Harold Whitmore had built everything from nothing, every brick, every dollar, every success. He had been raised by a single mother who worked double shifts just to keep the lights on. Her kindness, her sacrifice, and her gentle heart had shaped him more than any business school ever could. And now, as he looked at his 30-year-old son Mark, he saw the same sincerity in him. But Harold also knew how the world treated wealth. Money attracted many things, and not always the good kind. So when Mark announced that he was engaged to a woman named Lily, someone he had met at a community volunteer event, Harold was happy, but cautious. He wanted to believe her love was real, but he had seen too many people fooled by appearances, and no father wants to watch his child walk blindly into a life of heartbreak. Mark adored Lily. He talked about how she helped shelter dogs on weekends, how she cared for her aging grandma, how she donated half her small teacher's salary to students who couldn't afford lunches. She sounded perfect, maybe too perfect. Harold didn't want to judge her. He wanted to know her. A few weeks before the engagement dinner, a quiet idea settled into his mind. His country home had a private gate at the end of the long driveway, a place where guests stopped to check in before entering. Usually guests saw a uniformed security guard or a hired gatekeeper. But what if, for one day, that gatekeeper looked like a man who had nothing? Would Lily treat him with respect, or brush him aside as if he didn't matter? The thought felt risky, even a bit foolish for a man of his status, but Harold couldn't let it go. So early one morning, just hours before Mark and Lily were set to arrive for lunch, he put on old jeans, a faded jacket, a wool cap pulled low over his forehead, and smudged a little dirt on his cheeks. When he looked in the mirror, even he barely recognized himself. He walked down to the gate, stood behind the small wooden booth, and waited. The sun peeked over the trees when Mark's car finally pulled up. But it wasn't Mark who stepped out first, it was Lily. She wore a simple blue dress, her hair tied in a loose braid, no expensive jewelry, no designer purse. She smiled the moment she approached the gate, though she had no idea who the man standing behind it really was. "Good morning," she said warmly. "We're here to see Mr. Whitmore." Harold kept his voice low and gravelly. "Mr. Whitmore doesn't like unexpected visitors." She blinked in surprise. "Oh, I thought Mark told him we were coming." Mark leaned out of the car window. "Dad knows. He probably forgot to notify the staff." "Staff," Harold repeated, playing his role. "He forgets us a lot." Something softened in Lily's eyes. She stepped closer to him. "That must be hard." Harold shrugged. "It's a job." Lily looked at him carefully, really looked, the way few people ever had. "Are you cold? It's freezing out here." She reached into her bag, pulled out a small hand warmer, and placed it gently into his palm. For a moment, Harold forgot to breathe. Nobody had handed him something like that in years. People usually shook his hand with admiration or fear, or asked him for favors, loans, opportunities. But not this small gesture of human warmth. "Thank you," he whispered. "It's nothing," she said. "You matter too." Then she hesitated. "Is everything okay? You look like you haven't eaten yet today." Harold felt a lump form in his throat. Instead of answering, he asked, "Why are you marrying Mark?" Her answer came without a second of hesitation. "Because he reminds me of home." Harold blinked. "Home, not the place. The feeling," she said softly. "Safety, kindness, peace. He's the first person who made me feel like I didn't need to pretend to be someone else." She laughed shyly. "And because he's terrible at cooking, someone has to save him." Mark groaned from the car. "I'm right here." They all laughed, and Harold found himself smiling so hard his cheeks hurt. But he wasn't done yet. "Your dress," he said carefully. "You're meeting a billionaire. Don't you want to look richer?" Lily laughed again. I'm not trying to impress his money, I'm just trying to be myself. Then, to Harold's surprise, she stepped closer. And you remind me of my grandpa. Harold's heart clenched. Oh, he used to work long hours at a warehouse, she said. He always wore a jacket just like that. He taught me that it doesn't matter if someone is the CEO or the janitor. Everyone deserves kindness. She glanced at Mark, then back at Harold. If Mr. Whitmore doesn't feel the same way, well, I guess I'll just have to charm him slowly. Harold couldn't speak. This wasn't the reaction he expected. Not even close. But then, right at that moment, another car drove up behind them, an expensive one. A woman wearing designer sunglasses stepped out and scolded Harold sharply. You there! Open the gate! We've been waiting for minutes, she snapped. Lily immediately stiffened. Hey, she said firmly, you don't need to talk to him like that. It's his job, the woman said coldly. It's his dignity, Lily corrected, and nobody's job is to be spoken to like they're less than human. The woman rolled her eyes and muttered something rude, but Lily stood her ground. Harold watched silently. And in that moment, right there, he knew the truth. He didn't just see kindness in Lily. He saw strength. He saw the heart of someone who understood what mattered more than money, status, or luxury. She wasn't putting on a show. She wasn't chasing wealth. Her kindness was real. He swallowed the emotion rising in him. You can go through, he said quietly, stepping back and opening the gate. Mark drove slowly up the driveway, and Lily waved goodbye to him, smiling as if she had known him for years. When they reached the house, Harold had only 10 minutes to slip out of the disguise. He scrubbed the dirt off his face, changed into one of his tailored suits, and tried his best to steady his breathing. But his heart still raced. When he finally walked into the foyer, Lily gasped. Oh, Mr. Whitmore, I didn't see you earlier. Harold studied her face. No flicker of embarrassment, no awkward discomfort, no sudden change in tone. She greeted him with the same kindness as she had shown the poor gatekeeper. Welcome, he said gently. There's something you should know before we eat. She tilted her head. What is it? Harold took a slow breath. The man at the gate was me. Silence fell. Lily's eyes widened and softened. Instead of being shocked at the test, instead of being offended or angry, she simply said, You must have wanted to know the truth. Harold nodded, emotion tightening his throat. I did, and you showed it to me. She smiled quietly. Kindness doesn't change based on who's watching. Harold's eyes burned with tears he couldn't hold back. Not because he had been fooled, not because he had been right or wrong, but because for the first time since Mark introduced her, he felt something he hadn't felt in years. Peace. She would have loved him poor, he thought. She would have loved him no matter what. Lunch that day was filled with laughter, real laughter, the kind that fills a home. With warmth. Harold watched Lily and Mark together, saw the way they looked at each other, and knew his son would be safe, loved, cherished. Before they left, Harold walked Lily to the door. Thank you, he said quietly. For what? She asked. For reminding me that kindness still exists, he replied, and for loving my son the way he deserves. Lily squeezed his hand. Thank you for giving me a chance. In a world where so many people chase wealth, status, and the illusion of perfection, sometimes it takes a simple act of kindness to reveal a person's true heart. Lily didn't know she was being tested. She didn't try to impress anyone. She simply treated every soul with dignity, no matter how small, poor, or overlooked, and in doing so, she changed a billionaire father's heart. Let this story be a reminder. Kindness costs nothing, yet it can change everything. So wherever you go today, your workplace, your school, your home, choose kindness. You never know whose life you might touch, or whose heart you might heal.